I know I'm a little late to the party, but I finally watched Superman. Now, I don't usually make videos about films, which to be honest is quite surprising because I probably love films more than I love video games, but I haven't made a video in a while and I wanted to. So, this is what you get. Spoiler warning, I will be talking about this film in full, so if you haven't seen it yet, now's your time to click away. Have you gone? Good, just wanted to make sure. Let's do this. Now, Superman as a character never really resonated with me growing up. I had watched the films, played some of the games, but I was never a huge fan. Because of this, I never went in expecting to have much to say about it. But I was wrong. The film left me with a lot to say. The film made me feel things which really surprised me coming from a comic book film. Yeah, I watched Marvel movies as a teenager and enjoyed them, but I feel like they all start to become the same without too much to say. This isn't the case here. The movie doesn't shy away from its commentary on real world events, but it's the way it tackles them that made it stand out. You have evil billionaires getting involved in politics for their own gain, trying to drag people down and turn them against each other so they can profit, something we see today in the real world. Conflicts in the film mirror those that are ongoing either in Ukraine or Palestine, and it doesn't shy away from where it stands on these issues. And that's where the film really shines. The film is about the character's humanity, the character's point of view, the way the character views the world and the people in it. This isn't a film where Superman unlocks a new power or finds a hidden object to defeat the villain. Yeah, he has some cool powers and they find some cool ways to use them in the film, but the point of the movie is to highlight his true strengths, his strength of character, his morals, what he stands for as a person. The message of the film wouldn't be as strong if we didn't see this Superman failing, if we didn't see him losing fights. For most of the film, Superman's getting beat down. Early on, there's a fight scene where we meet the Justice Gang, a corporate superhero team with very little regard for public safety. While Superman's main focus is saving people, their goal is to just finish the job, nothing more, with no regard for who gets hurt or what gets damaged. In this scene alone, Superman stops the monster falling into a building. He saves a dog, a squirrel, and even wants to get the monster itself to safety. In previous iterations of the character, we see a Superman have very little regard for his surroundings or the damage he causes. Here is the opposite. It's highlighted that he's careful and his main goal is to stop damage, not cause it. It's these small scenes that really highlight the character's humanity. He's curious, he wants what's best for everything, not just people. This is where the character shines. This is what stands out about Superman, putting the man in Superman. There is a scene near the end of the film where a child is at his country's border, preparing for an invasion. He lifts a flag with Superman's symbol on it. You expect this to be a big moment where Superman comes to the rescue and saves the kid from the invading forces. This isn't the case. Instead, we see the same team of heroes from before, having changed and standing up for others because they were inspired. Inspired by Superman. Inspired by his humanity. That's what makes Superman, Superman. Not that he punches harder than anyone else or flies faster, but because of this humanity and his compassion. He values life and what it means to be alive. Lois even calls him out on this at some point, saying how they see things differently. She tells him that he trusts everything and views everyone as beautiful. He doesn't push back on this idea because he doesn't see it as a weakness. He instead just says what has become the catchphrase of the movie. Maybe that's the real punk rock. To be punk is to rebel against society's norms. Maybe being kind and treating people with empathy is now punk rock. You're going against society's norms in a world that can consume itself with hatred and malice towards others. This film pushes back against that. It tells you that you don't have to feed into it. Just because everyone else around you is doing it, you can still push back. You can still treat people with kindness and empathy. See things from someone else's point of view. In media, we see all these characters taking this edgy approach. It's refreshing to see a character come out with just optimism and hope for the future. There's one moment that really made it click for me. Near the climax, a building is collapsing towards a bridge, and there's a single car stuck on it. Superman catches the building just in time, giving the woman inside a chance to start her car and drive away. She looks back at the cloud of dust, and we see Superman's silhouette rise up. That was the shot of the film. That is Superman. In a movie full of destruction and chaos, it shines brightest when it lets its hero simply be a hero. This scene is so much more effective than watching Superman punch a monster or crash into a building when it comes to showing who he is and what he represents. And it's something that I think other iterations of the character have simply missed. The major plot point of the movie is Clark discovering that everything he believed about his birth parents and their purpose for sending him to Earth was wrong. They didn't send him here to give Earth hope, they sent him to rule over it as a god. This obviously shakes Clark as everything he believed about his purpose turned out to be false. The image of the people he idolized and looked up to was shattered. We realize that our parents or authority figures are just people who are capable of making mistakes and being wrong. This is counterbalanced with the Kents, Superman's adoptive parents. We don't get much screen time with them, but the scene between Clark and his dad on the farm might be my favourite in the entire film. Maybe it's just where I am in life right now, but this conversation between father and son hit me hard. His dad tells him that parents don't dictate the path that you're meant to take. They're just there to give you the tools to face life head on, and that you are your own person. You're not tied down by what others want from you or what their idea for you is. And we can see this. We see him wrestling with what he thought his purpose was versus what he's learning now. And it's the man who raised him, the man who gave him these ideals we see throughout the film, who reminds him, you are not defined by what others want for you. You are defined by your choices. In any other film, this might have come across as over the top or clumsy, but here it works. Everything we've seen up to this point is Clark trying to be who he thought he was supposed to be. By the end, he realizes he isn't doing this for them. He's doing it for himself because that's who he is and who he wants to be. And that's more important than any expectations anyone can put on you. Be the person you want to be. The film's message of kindness and compassion doesn't just apply to others. It applies to how we treat ourselves too. In a time where social media is flooded with cynicism and outrage, it's genuinely refreshing to see a story centered around a positive role model, someone that you can look up to. Life isn't about getting ahead of others or comparing what you have. It's about the small moments, connecting, being human. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to not be perfect. But it's how you react to this that shows your true character. I think the villain is the perfect counterbalance to this. Nicholas Hoult is brilliant as Lex Luthor. There's never a moment where you don't understand this man's motivation. He might not have a complex or sympathetic backstory, but that's okay. Not every villain has to be misunderstood. The man is just a hater, and honestly, it works. He shoots someone in front of Superman to try and get information just because he helped him earlier on in the film. He represents the ugliest parts of humanity. The ones driven by envy, greed, and anger. He's the perfect contrast of Superman's hope and compassion. At its core, the movie is an alien with godlike powers trying his best to be human, going up against a human trying to play God. We see Lex dehumanize people all around him. He keeps a prison full of people who he perceives to have wronged him. Lex sees himself as the smartest person in any room, but that isn't enough for him. He sees the adoration Superman gets, and he's jealous. I don't think he understands that Superman doesn't get these people to like him through his strength or physical feats. It's his kindness and compassion, something that Lex just lacks. He isn't capable of understanding this. He has all the money in the world, the intelligence to make pretty much what he needs, but the one thing he wants but can't have is the attention and love that Superman gets from the public. Which, honestly, is something we see from a lot of billionaires in the real world. Most people don't respect them because they aren't good people. They have all this money and all these resources, but how they got them is so wrong and disgusting that people just don't like them. And their egos just can't handle it. Film does a great job at depicting this comic book billionaire while also staying grounded in reality. Again, we see it in the real world. Billionaires getting involved in politics for their own personal gain, something Lex does in the film. They can have all this money, but their ego demands more. Their ego demands they be worshipped. Now, as I said at the start, I didn't expect much going into this. I thought it'd be a fun way to kill a couple of hours and that'd be it, but I was wrong. Now, the film isn't the peak of cinema. Yes, it has issues, but it doesn't have to be the peak of cinema. It can still have something meaningful to say. It gives us a version of Superman that we haven't seen in a long time. For ages, Superman adaptations have leaned dark. They've tried to reinvent him by making him more brutal or grounded. And while I don't hate these movies, and I think a lot of times they can work, this movie doesn't shy away from the sillier aspects of the character. They give him his dog. They let him wear his trunks outside the suit. We've seen the evil Superman trope everywhere lately. Injustice, The Boys, Invincible. It's just refreshing to see a film lean into the good. In a world that often feels more cynical by the day, it was important to see a story that puts kindness, hope, and compassion front and center. A film that reminds us that these traits aren't weaknesses. It's that compassion and kindness that makes us human. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I do appreciate it. This was something different and pushed me a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I did enjoy the process. It was nice to just talk about a film I enjoyed and give my thoughts on it. Leave a comment down below and share your thoughts on the movie if you agree or disagree with anything I said. Also, please like and subscribe as it helps me a bunch, and maybe I'll do more of these videos in the future. Who knows?